Hey everybody, and welcome to our early comics review video. I'm Andy.
I'm Matt.
We're here with Infinity Flux Comics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, and this is our big show where we show you some of the biggest and best books that are releasing this week, this Wednesday, to your local comic book store, or if you shop with us at infinityflux.net, they're available there too, or in store at infinityflux.here. So, we've got some great books this week to talk about. One I am super excited to talk about, and you'll have to cut me off at some point for talking about it. But like I said, while supplies last, head on over to infinityflux.net right now. Go ahead and order your copy so you don't miss out. But let's get into some awesome books this week because, starting off, I gotta talk about Aquaman #1.
Okay, that's enough. Anyway, we gotta.
Don't prematurely
Right.
cut me off. Let me get through
Yeah.
at least a reasonable amount of explanation. But Aquaman has always been my favorite superhero. I know that's controversial a lot of the times. People who don't like Aquaman have not read enough Aquaman.
There's so much good Aquaman stuff out there,
Yeah.
and he's relegated to a meme when he really shouldn't be. Like, he's awesome.
You know, Super Friends didn't do a whole lot for him, even though that's kind of where I fell in love with him. But over the years, he's become such a intense character, ruler of the ocean, and kind of one of the more I would say colder of the Justice League members.
Yeah.
You know, his loyalty is first to Atlantis rather than anything else, and his family, and that's what I think makes this so great. This is by Jeremy Adams, who I love. Of course, wrote Flash for a long time. Is now on Green Lantern.
And also Flash Gordon.
And Flash Gordon.
Yeah.
Fantastic books, all of them. And the art is by John Tim. Love, even back from the stuff on Harley Quinn and forward on Superman, Son of Kal-El.
Yeah.
Art. But I love that Jeremy Adams this really focuses on the family as well. So in this, it does kind of give you a really cool cold open of basically describing what kind of story you're going to be getting. And it's like, this is not, a story of him as a kid. This is not a story of him as a Justice League member, as, the king of the ocean or anything. No, this is a story of Aquaman the God Killer. And that's kind of our cold open. And we don't really know how we get to that level, but it's a really great setup for what's to come. But most of this issue, it takes place after Absolute Power. And if you know in Absolute Power, when it ended and all of the powers went back to the heroes, some got kind of turned upside down.
Place, yeah.
Yeah, and so that happened with Aquaman, but conveniently enough, he switched powers with Mera. Now, we don't know if Mera got his ability to telepathically communicate with sea life or anything.
Somebody can talk to fish, because in the one scene after they rescue the plane, there's ocean life helping people.
Yeah.
Somebody can talk to fish. I just don't know if it's him or her.
I don't know if does he also still have that power?
I don't know.
You don't see him use it otherwise. I like to imagine even if neither of them had him, the ocean life still.
Yeah, it could be.
He's like cool with him.
Yeah.
It's like you don't have to straight talk to us. Like we can help as well. But we do see him trying to learn this new ability he has, like Mera, where he can control water, he can rise it out, he can shape it in different things as they attempt to save a plane that is crashing, which is a fantastic scene.
It's such a cool sequence.
Yeah, it's really big and over the top, but you see why. Even with a new skill set, Mera even says something like, even for me, who's been doing that for years, that would have been a really hard thing to do.
I just like it because, hey, Superman's not the only one that can save a crashing plane.
And that the people around are like, should we panic? And like the captain of a ship is like, no,
we're good. Yeah, Aquaman's got it.
Yeah,
no worries.
So that's really awesome. But we do learn, other than getting these new powers, he's kind of still getting back into the role of being the king of Atlantis and all of that. And all the boring stuff that comes with it. He has to sit through meetings where they're talking about like kelp farms and sharks getting too close to the kelp fields and stuff. Super bored by this kind of stuff. But there is one mystery that pops up that Jackson Hyde, the Aquaman or Aqualad from when he was gone for a while, brings something strange to him. And Aquaman's like, yes, everything you're telling me about that is super weird and we should look into that. but I'm super busy right now. I can't focus on it. But it turns out that maybe that was a mistake because later, after it's not a spoiler that it was in the solicitations, everything, a giant water construct kaiju
yeah.
attacks Daytona Beach, Florida, which is an interesting place to attack. It could probably use a good washing.
Yeah.
It attacks, and Aquaman goes to stop that and everything, but maybe this was a distraction. And when he returns to Atlantis, I won't give it away, but something big has happened, and it may be tied with that artifact that Jackson Hyde brought to him. Now that's all really cool, but that's not where it ends because you do get Aquaman going to the Justice League to try to get some answers from some more magic users there. And when there is some threads that are pulled and they do find their way to a certain area in the ocean, that's where you really see the scope of this story on the last page where you realize they are dealing with some big universe shaking things.
Yeah, this story is not just confined to Aquaman and the ocean.
No.
This definitely is playing up on some of the bigger things that are going on in the DC universe right now. Some of the, the stuff that happened in the All In special and some things that other books are dealing with too.
Yeah.
This is much larger than
just
just
something
Aquaman.
in this that I feel like was referenced in another All In special when they said some weird things. I guess Challengers the Unknown.
Yeah.
Where some things have been popping up, and one of them's mentioned that it's near Aquaman's home in Amnesty Bay. And I feel like that's what we're seeing in here. And this could lead to, dark side level craziness. So that's why you don't want to miss out on this. This is not a small little mini series or anything. No, this is an ongoing Aquaman book where it looks like it's going to be ginormous. The second page in this has a giant monster that I don't want to give away, but it's like, oh, that's where we're going.
Yeah.
And it's incredible. So, can't talk highly enough about this. The art is phenomenal. It's action packed, huge double page spreads of different things that are really cool. Sets up a really interesting mystery and uses the whole Aquaman cast, which I love because that's some of the strongest part of his story. So, very excited for what's to come. The funny thing is, we read this like a month ago.
It was like back in November, I think.
Yeah. So I've been waiting so long to talk about this, and now it feels like I've waited so long for issue number 2
Yeah.
that I can't wait to see what happens because literally where this leaves off is like I don't know what page 1 of issue 2 is going to even look like. It could be wild. So we know they're going to be dealing with stuff like Animal Man has the red and Swamp Thing has the green, but it teases what is the blue, which was going to be a big story part in here. All what pulls all aquatic life in the oceans together. All that kind of stuff was teased before this book came out, and I can't wait to get a really long run of this, like Jeremy Adams is known to do. With like his Flash run was a good length, told a lot of story in that. His Green Lantern has been going awesome. I can't wait to see where that goes, and now we've got this to add to it as well.
Yeah, Aquaman is not a joke in this. He's a badass in this, and this is a good jumping on point for Aquaman. Like this is phenomenal.
Yeah, so you can see him right there. This was the cover, though. I thought if he can only do the water construct thing now, but can't talk to animals, I'm very scared for him on that shark.
Yeah, right.
If he cannot tell it to don't bite me. But there is your A cover. We've got some great covers for this one. So we've got, I love this one. This is the Ivan Rice variant, where he looks a little bit more traditional. But, of course, you had Jeff Johns and Ivan Rice on Aquaman for the New 52, which was one of the best books of the entire New 52. So great to see him drawing that again. We've got a Tula Lote variant with Mara. We've got a blank sketch variant with a little blue to it. We've got this one. I think this is Brad Walker doing a very 90s Aquaman, but this is a foil cover, which is very cool. Hook hand and all.
Yeah.
We also have the Fico Ocio all-in variant, like a lot of these. Very cool. We have this 1 in 25 Salvador LaRocca variant of Aquaman just chilling, catching some sun underwater. And we have this 1 in 50 Christian Ward variant, which I believe is his version from the Aquaman, that horror Black Label.
Andromeda?
Yeah. I believe that's that Aquaman, and we're selling that one for $39.99.
Yeah, that's definitely my pick of the week right there. Like that book, highly recommended.
Yeah.
4 thumbs from us, way, way up. Everybody needs to go grab that book for sure. We also have another banger from DC, and that's Absolute Batman #4. Now, this is by Scott Snyder, but the art is by Gabriel Hernandez Walta, not Nick Dragotta. And this is kind of an interlude to the story they've been telling so far. And this was by design. You don't have to worry about, oh, Nick Dragotta's not coming back. Like this was in the plan the entire time. Nick Dragotta.
That'll help him keep on track
Yeah,
to
yeah.
be the continuing artist.
Yeah, Nick Dragotta will be back on issues 5 and 6 to finish out this first story arc. And in case there's anybody out there, this is an ongoing series. I still get questions about.
Yeah.
Somebody asked me the other day. They said, "Why?" They said, "What do you mean issue number 6? I thought this was a 5-issue series." No, all the Absolute books that are out right now are ongoings.
I think that got a mix up when they said like the first story arc is
Yeah,
5 issues,
yeah. And
not
Scott,
the entire series.
yeah, and Scott Snyder did say that both he and Nick Dragotta are in it for the long haul
Yeah.
too. It's just this one is a bit of an interlude, and the best way to describe this is kind of a miniature Absolute Batman Year One. I say miniature because the original Year One was 4 issues, and this is just the one issue. But this is basically Absolute Batman Year One. There's even a nice little homage to the original Year One in
Yeah.
this too. But this issue goes back and forth between a couple different points in Bruce's life. We see Bruce as a kid building that bridge or going through different iterations of building that bridge that we saw in issue 1. He won the award for that got them the trip to the zoo where all the bad things happen. And a lot of that is him talking to his dad about, here's what I'm thinking for the bridge, and here's why I picked a bat as my inspiration, because they can do this and they can do that. And his father being very encouraging and saying, "Oh yeah, I think you're onto something here," and kind of giving him life lessons and things like that. So that whole bit was really cool, and that goes back and forth between that and Bruce as a young man, kind of in his early days as Batman, and his original kind of approach to being Batman was much much different. I won't spoil it for you, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's like he went real hard, real fast
Yeah.
with an idea. And even when I was reading, I was like, "Wait, what am I? Is this a dream sequence?"
That's
or
what I
is
thought too. I was
this?"
like, is this a different person?
Yeah, and then I got to the end, I was like, "That's actually really funny."
Yeah.
And like, kind of like if I was to become Batman, probably where I would
Yeah.
think of going first with it.
Yeah,
but
he leaned really hard into it right at the beginning before sort of dialing it back a little bit. So we do see how he evolved and adapted the persona of Batman over time, and we see that he really started just like, I'm just gonna take out these street thugs that were robbing a lady's purse or whatever. But he quickly realized that if you just take out a random thug on the street, somebody else will replace them. So he realized that you have to go after the source, the crime at its source, and so he starts going after the weapon suppliers and drug suppliers and things like that, and also the politicians and corporate fat cats that allow those operations to run in the first place. So he's trying to find like how is this even happening? I'm going to go straight to the source to deal with all that. And there's more to it than that. Try not to spoil too much, but this is just a really good look at Bruce when he was young. We get a little bit more relationship with his father, and then we see him sort of designing his suit. We get little bits and pieces like that. So it's really, really cool. It's a great look into this new Batman. I think it came at the right time because, we did have a lot of questions. It's like, why is he so big? And how does he have his suit like that, and why, and things like that. And so we get some of those blanks filled in this. Like I said, it doesn't push the main story forward at all because this all is a flashback, but it's just still really cool. It helps to really round out this new Batman, and I think it really helps out a lot. So
and it shows a lot of the differences between the Batman we know and this
Yeah.
Batman in even how how his feeling is after his father dies, how he handles that
Yeah.
is different than how he did before, because of course he doesn't have Alfred there
Right.
to take in that fatherly figure and everything. So it's all very different, but in a really cool new. It still feels like Batman, but with a lot of the pieces changed.
Yeah, for sure. But it's still an excellent addition to this series. So we have our A cover right here, and there are some cool variants. This is our Yasmin Putri variant. And we have the Francesco Francavilla variant. Batman is just really big now. It's towering over the city. Actually, I like this one because this is what Batman, absolute Batman should be. This is the 1 in 25 James Heron that we're selling for 11.99. He's got a big old body and a tiny little head.
His fists are, as big as most of his body.
Yeah. And then there's the 1 in 50 Jorge Fornes variant that we're selling for 24.99. He's a little bit more in scale there.
Yeah. It's a great issue, and I don't know. I really like. What sounds funny is all the Batman stuff is great, but the stuff with him building the bridge
Yeah.
and it kind of works as a narrative thread through the entire thing is really cool and helps explain his ideas of Batman.
Yeah.
Which is, a big testament to Scott Snyder writing it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next up, I've got a new #1 from Marvel. This is Magik #1. So, some of our favorite of the new X-Men titles have been the individual characters like Phoenix and Psylocke and that kind of stuff. I feel like, when they could really focus on one character, it's been really good. So, this is by Ashley Allen and the art is by Jermaine Peralta. And this is interesting because, Magik, we have seen she's a member of the X-Men in Alaska with Cyclops and that whole team. So this does kind of branch off from there. As she's there, she keeps having this reoccurring dream that involves her, but the Dark Child persona that she's kind of been able to bury for a long time. And it's in her dream, there's the death of the X-Men. You see her as a kid with Colossus, and it's a very like the dream jumps in time a lot as she's wearing her New Mutants suit and all of that. But it does feel like the story's going to involve the Dark Child persona and it kind of whispering in her ear a lot. But it seems like while she's there, she's still not the most sociable member of the X-Men. And the X-Men do something. They throw somewhat of a party that she's basically like, I don't want anything to do with this. But she did notice on the news that there's been some attacks on mutants in Juneau, Alaska, where it seems like some kind of monster or something has been taking mutants. It's very, it's kind of the opening of this. It's very horror movie as they get like dragged away and stuff. But she's basically like, I'm going to just like keep myself entertained with like helping these people, so I don't have to be a part of this X-Men stuff right now. And so she heads to Juneau, where, uh, of course, there's some terrible people. They're protesting the funeral of the mutant that died, even though they're missing. They're still holding a.
They're presumed dead.
Yeah, presumed dead. They're holding a funeral, and Magik comes in at just the right time. But something else also appears, and it appears to be some kind of demons at the same time. Of course, she gets blamed for this, but I don't want to give away too much because it is very interesting. We've got that story, and it shifts a little bit, and there's some other people there that seem like they're going to be key players in the story that may know more about what's going on, and there could be a kind of prophecy about the Dark Child and all of that. There's a new character you'll see on one of the variants that seems like one of the villains behind this. I think on the variant cover it just calls him the Crow Demon.
Yeah. I was trying to figure out like who he was, what his name was.
I don't think he has a name, but you'll see him on one of the variant covers that seems like he's trying to awaken something. And a lot of it's still left a mystery in this first issue. And it lays down a lot of pieces of stuff that Magik does know and maybe doesn't know, and what people know about her. But it seems like it's going to all be really wrapped around her and who she is and who, her time in limbo and all that kind of stuff. So if you're a big Magik fan, you'll like this a lot. It is a very good kind of segue out of the regular X-Men title for her. If you're reading that, it's going to feel, right at home, being set in Alaska, and you've seen the other X-Men in it as well. The art is good in this. There's some great action scenes of Magik using her soul sword. You get even some explanations if you haven't read Magik in a while or don't know everything. She explains her sword. She explains some of her powers, all of that, which is really cool. But so this is shaping up to be a cool. I believe this is a mini series, right? I think this is like.
I thought it was an ongoing.
Is it ongoing? Okay.
I'm not sure. Marvel's not great at letting us know which way.
They'll know when you're halfway into
right.
it. But we've got a great cover by J. Scott Campbell, who's also, at least for the first few issues, doing the A covers for, which is awesome. So there is your A cover. We've also got a really nice Marvel Rivals variant. I like playing as Magik. I like her zipping around through portals and her giant sword. Even though I'm not good with any character, so that was really cool. Um, we also have this awesome Dyke Ruin foil variant where
Yeah,
just the foil is the flames from the Soul
that's
Sword.
really cool.
Then we've got some incentives, or an incentive. This is the 1 in 10 design variant by Peach Momoko for $7.99, and that is your Crow Demon, who's kind of a like a cowboy gunslinger.
Yeah, he's really neat because he shoots a bullet, but then he like utters a magic words like split, and the bullet splits
Yeah,
and
or
hits her from
explode or
yeah, or
something
something like
like.
that. Yeah, he's really cool.
Yeah, I would like to learn more about him, but he seems like a tough
Yeah,
hombre.
he's in it a lot, but we just don't know who the heck is this guy. Where does he come from? What's his deal? We don't really know. It's just him fighting magic a
Yeah,
lot.
we get a little bit of what he's trying to do, but we don't know why or what the outcome of that will
Right.
be or anything. So, but a cool antagonist for Magic.
Yeah. All right, well, next up, I've got a new book from Image called The Lucky Devils. This is going to be a 9-issue series, and this is from Charles Soule and Ryan Brown, who brought you things like Curse Words and 8 billion Genies. And this, it's not related to either one of those at all. It's its own thing, but it does feel a lot like 8 Billion Genies. And if you enjoyed that series, I think you will like this one as well. So the first few pages of this introduce us to our two main human characters. There's a teacher named Cam and a nurse named Star, and they're both really nice people. They don't. I don't think they know each other. They don't interact with each other. It goes back and forth between the two of them. They're both really, really nice people, but they are having really, really bad days, and their day just gets worse and worse and worse as it goes on. At the end of the day, at the end of their day, they each go to bed. They're ready to just be done with this terrible day. And then all of a sudden, they see their devils, which is these two little guys right here. This is Collar and that's Rake. Collar is Cam's devil, and Rake is Star's devil. And obviously, they're really freaked out by this. There's these little demons in their bed, basically. But they're not like they don't seem like they're sinister. They're like, no, I'm gonna burn your soul or whatever. Like they're actually talking kind of normal, kind of like the genies in 8 Billion
Yeah.
Genies. They kind of talk normal like that. And they explain that everyone has a devil. Like when you're born, you have a little devil basically that sits on your shoulder, right? And kind of try to persuade you to do bad things. And it's explained that there's different levels of these devils. The devils like Collar and Rake here, they're attached to just regular people, people like you and me, just who just go about their day. There's a higher level of devil that are attached to people with a little bit more maybe like social power, like they say vice principals and middle managers and stuff like that. And then there are devils at the highest level who are attached to people with real influential power, like politicians and corporate bigwigs and things like that. People who can really influence things. And it where it feels like 8 billion genies is, it feels like they've thought about this a lot because we always said about 8 billion genies that like there is no loophole, there is no like, well, if this then that, like they thought about
Yeah.
everything. And if this feels the same way because it's like they explain that there is one devil per 100 people. So that means there's like 70 million low level devils, but then there's like when you get to the highest level, there's only one devil. There's only 7 devils, one per each of the most influential people. It's not really important to this story, but that's how much thought is going into this. So basically, the purpose of these devils is to make the person they're attached to more powerful and not like superpowers or anything, but like just more powerful and influential, but also worse. And the idea that if a devil successfully does that, they can like get a promotion within the devil community, basically. And what the problem with Cam and Star is that they are so nice that no matter what these devils do, um, it doesn't really change them all that much. So that's why they reveal themselves. Because obviously, you can't really see these devils, but these two devils revealed themselves. And they said, we revealed ourselves because we aren't influencing you guys whatsoever. And we want to take a shortcut up the devil ladder, basically. So we're not going to worry about making you guys worse, but we do want to increase your power and influence. And that's what the series is going to be. And the inner cover, like where the title is, it shows all the different the sins, basically lust and gluttony and envy and things like that. And each issue is going to be them using a different sin on Cam and Star. And it sounds evil, like but it's done in a fun, like this is a fun book, right?
Yeah.
Like these devils right here, like I said, they're actually pretty fun. They don't seem very sinister. They're just like doing their job basically. And so yeah, the book is going to be these two devils trying to increase the power influence of Cam and Star so that they themselves, the devils themselves, can rise up the ranks in the devil community. So that sounds really strange. I know I just dumped a lot of weird information on you, but when you read it, it does make total sense. And again, it is a lot like 8 billion genies, where it's like, what? Everybody has a genie, and where do they come from? And what, all these different like rules and lore is established. So once you read it, it will make sense. But if you liked 8 billion genies, you will like this, I think, because it, like I said, has that same feel. It seems like it's going to be a lot of fun. Ryan Brown on art, it looks just like 8 billion genies, and I just think it's going to be a lot of fun. So I recommend this if you're looking for a new, fun, non-big two book to read. So we have our A cover right here, and we have a Frank Miller variant right there, and we have a blank sketch variant, and you can draw your own little devil.
Yeah, they're quite a bit more complex looking than the genies, but
Yeah,
uh, do they look like they're people? Or are they kind of like how the genies
no,
are?
they look like that. That's them.
They, but is that what the humans do? They
Yeah, the humans see
resemble?
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
when they reveal themselves to Cam and Star, that's what they look like. So it's not like they're like spirits, like little transparent spirits. They
yeah.
look like this.
So it seems like when they get promotions, like they go to a different person or something, or
I
they
guess
just try to
so.
raise up their one person.
Um, well, no, so like the devils don't. It's not one devil per person.
Yeah.
They have like several humans that they try to influence, but the higher up they go, the fewer people they are attached to
Mhm.
until they get to the top, and it's like, oh, I'm assigned to the president or something
Yeah.
like that. So, I'm sure they'll flesh that out more
That was
as
the
the
fun
series
part
goes
of
on.
8 Billion Genies is learning as they went on of like, oh, so that's why they do it this way, or
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to reading that
yeah.
and learning how this world works.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely learn more about the inner workings of this as the issues go on
Mhm.
for sure.
Well, I've got a new book, a pretty dark, scary book. This is When I Lay My Vengeance Upon Thee, #1 from Boom. This is by Gus Marino and Jacob Rebelka. And this is cool. So, this is very The Exorcist, but also has a lot of vibes of like a Mignola verse book
Mm,
or something like that. Even though it's from a different publisher, it still has a lot of those feels. So, we meet Father Manuel Barrera in Mexico City, and it seems like there's been an accidental death. Even though when you see it, you can still be suspicious if it was accidental or something overtook him or something. But it involved the death of a child and landed him in prison. And he's very remorseful, but also kind of knows like, well, this did happen, and so this is my lot in life. Until one day he's visited by Cardinal Glanton, and Cardinal Glanton, he's surprised to have a visitor and all of this, and tells him that he would be a good fit for a certain vocation. And this would mean that he got released from prison. Um, so that's part of the book. I would say the bigger part of the book is we also follow Father Stygian, who is a priest who has made his own rules for doing exorcism. He's maybe usually you're trained by the church how to do them, and he was, but also he's decided to throw in his own little flair and stuff that makes him especially good, but also kind of a wild card.
mm.
And we see the unconventional ways that he exercises someone, or how he knows that this one person is demon possessed and all of that. So you've got that's Stygian, and that's Barrera, and uh, but you basically find out that Stygian basically can't do this job forever. It is taking a big toll on him. He's getting older, and they think there needs to be someone who is trained in your ways to replace you. And that's where they want to bring Barrera in to do that, because they think that he's got nothing left to lose and he could handle this. But we do find out that maybe Stygian had some former apprentices, and it did not end well for them. So it seems like this is going to be a kind of like master and apprentice type story, but also pretty dark, pretty scary, and very unique art. It looks like this on the cover. You know, not all rooms are symmetrical. Things are a little more impressionistic
Yeah.
in a lot of it, but it does fit the story very well and gives a very otherworldly feel to a lot of it as well. But I think it's going to be kind of about Barrera if he can find, you know, redemption for what he did within his job, redemption with God, that kind of thing for him. That I think is going to be a really interesting journey. But very cool. And like I said, if you like the Mignola verse type stuff, like not Hellboy, but you know maybe some BPRD, that kind of stuff, and that kind of like Catholic Church versus demons. You'll definitely like this. Very unique, very cool. And I just have the one cover for it.
Well, I've got a new number one from Marvel. This is New Champions number one. This is written by Steve Fox and the art is by Ivan and Fiorelli. And there's a backup story by Iguara. And if you're like me, you're wondering who the heck are these characters? Where
Who
did they?
are those people?
Yeah, where did they come from? This actually follows up. So this is not their first appearance. This follows up on the story that was told in Spider Woman last year. I think it was issues 7 through 10. Had her going out to San Francisco, and she met these new young heroes out there. And I didn't read those issues. I'm going to go back and do that though. But this issue does do a good job of filling in the blanks. That's actually what the backup story is about. Is kind of a recap of what happened. And basically, what had happened was the in that story from Spider Woman from last year, Hydra took these kids who have powers, and they took them from their family in an effort to make them Hydra sleeper agents. But in that story, that plan was thwarted. They were returned to their family. Now, each one of them, at least on this cover, their families know who they are. They know that they're heroes. But one of them, Hellrune, this one right here, she's a foster child, so she's staying with a foster family, and she desperately wants to find out who her real parents are, where they are. So, and her powers are magic based, so she sends out these magic birds to find her family, and one of them finds her aunt. And so, she, or who I guess it was supposed to be her aunt anyway, and she has the birds teleport her there to where her aunt's supposed to be. But I don't know if I don't know how it happened, but she found her. She finds herself into trouble pretty quickly, and so she used the spell to summon the new champions to her. And a lot of this issue is this group of new champions right here fighting these kind of like zombie Viking looking things, which is pretty cool. And the spell that she cast that said, "Hey, bring me the new champions," maybe that worked a little bit too well, and we'll see the ramifications of that next issue. But this was actually really good. When I first heard about this, I thought, why? We already have the Young Avengers and the other champions with Kamala Khan and Miles Morales and the young Scott Summers and those guys. So I was like, why do we need another new team of young heroes? I want to just read those, and that still kind of holds true. Like I still desperately want a new Young Avengers book, and if this book had been with those characters, this would have been a home run. But so these characters are still new. I don't have an attachment to them yet, but the story was really well done. The artwork is really good. There's a lot of good action. I don't find any of these characters annoying, like because some young heroes can be, and especially when writers try to write really young heroes, there might be some weird dialogue and stuff. But it was all done really, really well. It's just that I don't know these characters yet, but I do want to see what happens next, especially with the what the last page looked like and the cover of the next issue. Like I definitely want to keep going.
Spider Boy in this? I know he's eventually going to be part of this.
Yeah, he shows up.
Okay.
I don't want to say too much, but yeah, he pops up somewhere in the book. But yeah, and the beginning of it did kind of make me. It was reminiscent of the first issue of, or maybe the first couple issues of Young Avengers from way back in 2006 or whenever it was, because these heroes all of a sudden are just there, and they're just fighting these kind of like C or D list villains in the streets of New York or wherever they are, or San Francisco, I guess. And you're like, who are these heroes? I don't know, but it does a good job of introducing you to who they are, what their name is, what their powers are, and the mystery builds on that. So it does kind of have that Young Avengers feel in the way the story is constructed. So yeah, much better than I thought it was going to be. I was kind of not super loving the idea of a third team of young heroes when we have two other young hero teams that we don't have books about, but I liked it. I mean,
Yeah.
it was good. So we have our A cover right here, and we have this really nice Art Germ variant. I don't know who that is. I thought that was Hellrune before I read it, but that's not her. Isn't that Scarlet Witch's?
Yeah.
But I don't remember her name. But if you guys are reading Scarlet Witch, you probably know. This is the Vicentini cover, which has more. Well, most of these characters are heavily featured in that book. We have this really nice Rose Besh cover. I don't remember her name, but she's really cool. This is a
Ghost Rider on roller skates.
yeah. This is a Peach Momoko cover, and then we have this nice 1 in 25 Nicoletta variant that we're selling for $24.99.
Next up, this one doesn't take much explanation, but it's still fun. What if Mickey and friends became the Fantastic Four? So this follows on the heels of what if Donald Duck became Thor? What if Donald Duck became Wolverine? We've had a lot of these Disney what ifs. For a long time they were kind of homage covers for
Hmm.
Amazing Spider-Man. They still are a lot of the time, but we are getting actual stories behind them now. So this is by Steve Bailing and Riccardo Sesci, and art by Lorenzo Pesteravecchio. And I think that's basically the same teams that worked on the previous ones. But this is kind of Fantastic Four #1, but with you've got Mickey as Reed Richards, you've got Minnie Mouse as Invisible Girl Sue Storm, you've got Goofy as Human Torch Johnny Storm, and Ben Grimm is Donald Duck. The Thing,
Which is perfect.
yeah, they've got the anger right.
Yeah.
It's a really fun mashup. It's cool seeing them together as that team. So this basically recreates Fantastic Four #1. I went and kind of read them side by side. Fantastic Four #1. This is a little like truncated version. It leaves out some of just the meat of the story of you know uh, interstitial bits and that kind of stuff. But a big four flames up in the sky, and they all are out doing their own thing, and they're like, "Oh, I've got to go. There's trouble or whatever." And like where they are is all the same from the original issue, which is fun. So Minnie's out shopping, but then she turns invisible and sneaks away, and
Yeah. Huh.
the other person there was like, "Where'd you go?" and that kind of stuff. And Goofy is working on a car because Johnny Storm used to be like the car guy
Yeah.
and all that. So it's really fun seeing those comparisons, even down to there's some panels that are a one-for-one recreation
Nice.
that I really liked. But in this, they're going up against uh, Mole Pete, which is this universe's version of Mole Man, but with Pete the cat. And that's really fun. He's got a bunch of big monsters that definitely look like amalgamation of Jack Kirby monsters and classic, like they got the Disney eyes and that kind of stuff, which is really fun. But yeah, so I feel like this maybe is the first couple of issues of Fantastic Four shoved into one, because you do get like an origin on Mole Man, and you get a little bit more than what issue 1 of Fantastic Four has. But it's really fun. It's just a one and done issue, just a fun what if. And they do tease the next one, which is what if Mickey and Friends became the Avengers. So we've got that to look forward to in probably a couple months. But yep, just a fun another one in these what if Disney specials. So there is your A cover. We also have this Nick Bradshaw variant.
I like that one.
Yeah. Makes me wonder who is like Doom in this universe or Galactus or
Oh my
something. I
gosh.
want to see those.
Yeah.
We've got the Scotty Young, Goofy Human Torch.
Who would be Namor?
That is it. Oh, I don't know. There's so many fun ones. It's like
Yeah.
they've used Pete the Cat as the villain in a lot of them.
Right.
I want to say like Doom would maybe be Uncle Scrooge or Scrooge McDuck.
Yeah, it could be.
Something like that. I don't know, but I would like to see it.
All right. Well, I've got all new Venom #2, continuing the saga of who is the all new Venom. Now, the burning question on everybody's mind right off the bat is yes, Paul is in this. He's on 3 pages in the middle of the book.
Eight panels?
I think we counted 7 panels.
7 panels.
Yeah, so Paul is in this, and yes, he still sucks. But
we did make the note that it seems like they're trying to make him suck even more.
yeah,
So maybe they will get rid of him soon, and if anyone had any feelings for him, they're gone. Let's
right.
hope.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, it's like he is a kind of sort of a jerk in this, and It's like, Marvel, you don't need to make us hate him. We already hate
Yeah.
him. Like just kick him out the door. So yeah, Paul's in it. So that's your Paul. That's your Paul update.
Spoiler alert, your Paul alert.
Right, that's your Paul alert for this issue. So, this issue starts with the all new Venom taking on these Z-list team of villains called the Death Throes, and they're pretty ridiculous villains, but it's actually a really fun fight until this. But it kind of turns a little bit more serious when a group of government agents in guardsman armor show up, and they fight this new Venom for a little bit. But Venom, and this is kind of important, Venom retreats. He's like, "Hey, I've got to go. I'm late for a meeting." Cut to Robbie Robertson walking into a meeting room and said, "Hey guys, sorry I'm late." And the meeting is with Luke Cage and Rick Jones, and they both say, "Oh, don't worry, we were late too."
Yeah.
So it's like,
It's
okay,
very on the nose.
it's very on the nose, yeah.
On purpose.
Yeah. Oh, it's supposed to be that way, right? We are supposed to be misdirected, and who is this all new Venom? And they have a big meeting about, hey, there's still this new Venom, and none of us can still account for our whereabouts, and so we've got to figure this out. And also, it might be Madame Mask, um, because nobody can account for her whereabouts either. In this part with Paul and Mary Jane, you have Dylan Brock there who also wants his symbiote back, and he's trying to find out who is this new Venom.
They've weirdly kind of adopted him as a
Sort of,
child. The way they talk to him is
Yeah.
like ordering him around.
Yeah,
and
he's
stuff.
staying at their place. It's a little bit weird. And he and Paul do not get along.
No.
So Dylan Brock is all of us, I think, in this. But a little bit later in the book, there are some AIM operatives in an abandoned warehouse, and they're looking for Madame Mask. And Venom shows up, kind of out of nowhere. And, so it's like, oh, maybe that's Madame Mask, right? And there's a little bit of a fight there. And during that fight, one of the suspects is ruled out. I won't say which one's ruled out, and I won't say how they're ruled out. It was a little bit weird how they're ruled out. Like, I didn't understand.
Yeah, initially, my first thought was not, oh, that rules that person out.
Yeah.
It was, that's weird.
There's a little bit of dialogue that does cement it, though. There is somebody who says, oh, so I guess it's not blank anymore. So one person is ruled out of the lineup, leaving us with 3 left.
Yeah.
And each of the next couple issues is going to rule out another person. So it's fun. We're enjoying this book. Carlos Gomez's artwork is gorgeous. Like,
Yeah.
that's the hero of this book. The only thing with this is that there doesn't really seem to be much of a story other than just who is this Venom. This Venom just kind of shows up at random places at random times. I don't really know whoever this new Venom is, I don't know, what are they doing? What's their purpose?
Yeah.
Are they just swinging around looking for crime to fight? I don't really know.
Yeah, that's the thing is like, the focus is definitely more on who it is than some big overarching plot.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the plot that Madame Mask went missing in the first issue
Yeah.
during the trial, and they're trying to find her. But the big story is each of the people, because they also think one of the other one is Venom.
Yeah.
And so they're always arguing, and they're all like, well, we need to stick together to, prove to each other that we're not Venom.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of more the story, is this group going around doing stuff
Yeah.
to try and prove or not prove that they're Venom.
Yeah, so that's the main crux of the story. Venom just pops in and out of nowhere. Like, we don't follow Venom, to see, oh, where's he going and what's he doing? No, he just shows up, and yeah, we just trying to figure out who it is. But honestly, that's enough for me right now, because
Yeah.
I'm really interested in that story and finding out who it is. And again, it's very on the nose. I'm gonna be late. Next panel, hey guys, sorry I'm late.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny. But the artwork though is really good.
This Venom definitely has a little bit of not the outlandish sense of humor of the movie, but he
Yeah.
does have some quips.
He's more Spider-Man like.
He is more Spider-Man like. There's a great part where he swallows a bomb.
Yeah.
That's very cartoony but fits.
But it works, yeah.
And it works, and the artwork is kind of what makes it work and everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you take like how he's acting and you're like, would this character act like that, or this character? It kind of feels like, not really,
Yeah.
but, how much of that is Venom?
Yeah.
I'll be kind of disappointed if we get to the end and it's none of them.
Which I feel like that's what it's going to be. Just because Marvel being Marvel, they love to, misdirect and, avert expectations, things like that. So I don't think it's going to be...
either none of them or all of them.
Oh, it could
So
be,
one
yeah,
of those
yeah.
things. But yeah, we'll say the reason that they roll someone out at the end, for me, didn't rule it out until someone just said it.
Right. Yeah. Without that text, I wouldn't have thought
So
anything
I'd
of it.
love to hear, spoiler free in the comments, but let us know what do you
Yeah.
think? Because
Yeah.
it was a funny scene.
Mhm.
But yeah,
So there's our A cover right there, and we got this nice Paratore variant.
this Venom also has an incredibly long tongue.
Yeah, this is the 1 in 10 Carlos Gomez design variant that we're selling for $9.99. And he doesn't always have the tongue sticking out. Sometimes
No.
it's just a face like that in the middle, which I kind of
He's
like.
a pretty. If his thing wasn't gold, he's a pretty classic looking
Yeah,
Venom.
it's pretty friendly neighborhood Venom.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, next up, speaking of friendly neighborhood but sad, this is Amazing Spider-Man 65. So we're continuing this 8 Deaths of Spider-Man story, which for a little bit he did not die in the last issue. So he's kind of up on his number of deaths. I'm sure we'll hit one issue and they'll be like take out 5
You're
in
right.
one. But this is a kind of sad issue. So he's still fighting the Children of Siderax, and in the previous issue he fought one pretty easily. They kind of just sat down and gave up.
Yeah.
But they do have a sister, and she's the villain in this one. But I actually thought maybe she was the most interesting character in this because Spider-Man's like basically like, okay, we got to fight, and she's like, I really don't want to have to do this. I do feel bad that you have to do this. And he's like, so we're not gonna fight or something. She's like, nope. All I have is this crystal ball. All you got to do is hold this ball for as long as you can. Spider-Man's like, oh, that's no problem
yeah.
or whatever. And she's like, we'll see. So he grabs it, and suddenly he starts witnessing the deaths or the ends of people very close to him, like Aunt May, like the other spiders, that Miles and Gwen and Spider Boy and all that. And it's funny because it's not like big, like, oh, they're fighting Galactus or they're doing this kind of stuff. It's like very sad. All of them are very sad endings. And, Aunt May is not in a big fight, it's something else. And some of the people are in accidents, and that's what kills them. And it's basically not to, you know, scare Peter, it's more to just like make him where he's just like, well, this is inevitable, so
Yeah.
why am I doing what I'm doing?
To make him experience loss over and over and over.
Yeah. And for a while, he's like, oh, this is no problem. But then it does kind of start getting to him. And it does lead him to a place that I feel like we've seen Spider-Man plenty of times before. And maybe he should be a little past that.
Yeah.
But, we'll see for this story. I'm sure he'll bounce back. But it is a very sad issue. There's action, but they're kind of within these flashes. So you do see like Hobgoblin, and you see a lot of the characters that are featured on this cover over on the side. But yeah, it's not like a really action-packed issue or anything. So I'm interested to see where this goes, because where it's leading him right now is not to make him a better Spider-Man.
Right.
It's kind of just to like rub his face in the dirt.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see. But it was an interesting issue, and I did like the villain in this because I like that, like, no, you don't just punch them. They have their own means of fighting. So that is your A cover for that. Really nice Mark Bagley cover. We've also got, of course, a Scotty Young cover, which one is great, where he's trapped in a little glass jar. And we also have this 1 in 25 variant by Elizabeth Torque, which is very cool, that we're selling for $14.99.
Well, I've got another book in EC's line of, sort of resurgent books. This is Cruel Kingdom. And just like Epitaphs from the Abyss is an anthology horror book, and just like Cruel Universe is an anthology sci-fi book, this is an anthology fantasy book. There are 4 different short one-and-done stories in here, and they all have a fantasy bend to them, although a couple of them also have a little bit of a sci-fi flavor, and really all of these could have fit within Epitaphs of the Abyss as well. So, but it's much more fantasy based than the other books. There's a story called Blood of the Robo King by Greg Pak and Leo Max, and the citizens of this small village. So here's where the sci-fi bit comes in. It's this small little like sort of village that you think you would see in like any fantasy movie, but they build this robot king to be the king of their village, because they are very the Bible says thou shalt not kill, so we cannot kill the enemies that come and raid our village, but the robot can. So,
Loophole.
yeah, loophole. So he kills their enemies, but then they kill the robot because they say, oh, he's just a machine. We're not killing him. But they always bring the robot back whenever they need him to dispatch of their enemies. And they get a little bit drunk with power because they're like, oh, the robot will just kill whoever we need. And they start going after maybe other villages that aren't attacking them. And, disastrous results happen from that. There's a story called Death and Pickaxes from Chris Condon and Charlie Adlard. And it's basically Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. But all of the seven dwarfs have passed on, not by just by they just had natural deaths. But there's an eighth dwarf that was forgotten to history, and he has become very resentful because he is still watching over Sleeping Beauty. All of his other brothers die, but then she gets woken up by the Prince Charming, and he doesn't like that. And we'll just say that.
His name Resenti or something.
He goes to extreme measures. He is not very happy with Prince Charming. There's the other story that I want to talk about is called The Demon's Face. This is by Ben H. Winters and Andrea Muti. And this is a Sword in the Stone type story where there's a sword in this like stony demon's face, and all these guys are like trying to pull the sword out. Nobody can, but there is one person who can do it. Oh, you've heard that story before. Oh, but maybe this time they shouldn't have pulled that sword out. And so it's also, yeah, like I said, they're all kind of spooky, eerie. A couple of them have a sci-fi slant too. There's another one called Friendly Visitors. Which also had a bit of a sci-fi slant to it as well. But yeah, if you enjoyed those other two books from EC, you like the anthology format, you're definitely going to like this one because it's more of the same, but just with a fantasy flavor to it. So that's our A cover, and that's the only cover we've got.
Very cool. Next up, I've got Wolverine #5. So this storyline of this adamantine, this weird other metal, continues in this. In the previous one, Wolverine kind of got touched by it, and in this, it paralyzes him, and he feels this metal calling out to him from his bones, which is pretty crazy. But he's up against Lady Deathstrike, who is also in this kind of like robotic state almost because of this metal, and Constrictor. But thankfully, Wolverine does have the new Wendigo and Nightcrawler there to help him. But is he going to be able to resist the call of this metal, which seems to basically just be like controlling him from the inside? This is a fun issue. There's a lot of really good action bits. The art is really good. I'm wondering where this story is going because we're getting close to like what would be the first trade paperback, and it's been a lot of mystery of this metal, and we don't quite know what it's going to. It's in a lot of different people, but we don't know if it's going to manifest into an antagonist or something
well,
like that.
we still don't know what is it.
Yeah, where it comes from, what is its relationship to adamantium. We're not quite sure, but the stuff between him and Wendigo in this is really good, as he's still trying to make sure that this kid that's turned into the Wendigo still retains part of his humanity. It's great. There's some X-Jet in here. Always great to have Nightcrawler and Wolverine teamed up, which they have great moments in this. So yeah, it's another interesting issue of Wolverine. There's your A cover. We also have this really nice homage cover by David Yarden. And we have this 1 in 25 Dave Barden variant, which we're selling for $12.99. It's kind of the villains of Wolverine. I'm just looking at it.
Oh, yeah.
I was just saying, like, oh, Sabretooth on there? Yep. Oh, yeah. Silver Samurai.
He's got a big rogues gallery.
Yeah. It's really cool.
Yeah. All right, well, I've got What If Galactus Transformed Gambit. This is the second issue in the 5-issue miniseries. Where every issue is a one-shot of what if Galactus transform a different hero to become his herald. Last week was Hulk. Now we got Gambit. We also have Rogue, Moon Knight, and Spider-Gwen coming up. And this is weekly, I guess, because the last one was last week. So this one, he transforms Gambit. This is written by Josh Trujillo and the artist by Manuel Garcia. And in this one, Galactus makes Gambit his herald because Gambit is a master thief, and Galactus wants him to steal something from the Collector. And I don't want to tell you what that something is. It wouldn't really be a spoiler, but I remember when I turned the page around, I was like, "Oh, how's he going to do that? That's interesting." So I don't want to tell you what it is, but it's something that's personal to Galactus, and there is a little bit of a twist to it, to why he wants it, but also what it is really that the collector has. So, I'll let you read that for yourself. But and it's just a one and done story of Gambit getting the power cosmic, which is really cool. He still has all of his powers, but they are just dialed up to 11. He uses them in really creative ways and things like that. And I just made a note here that I did like this better than the previous issue. The last one was cool with Hulk being the Herald, but I thought this one was cooler. And yeah, just the next issue in this series. So there's our A cover right there, and we have this Galman variant. Trying to get that to focus there. And we have this 1 in 10 design variant from Ron Lim, kind of showing you what a powered up Gambit looks like.
I like it's his jacket that
Yeah.
decided to be powered up.
And he does look like that in the book too. It's his jacket and his hair. The hair kind of reminds me of Firestorm,
Yeah.
But yeah, this was fun.
Next up, I've got Ultimate Black Panther number 12. So, this is like 2 volumes worth now of
Yeah.
Black Panther. And this one's interesting. So, T'Challa is having dreams of him facing off against, is it Khonshu or is it like the head Moon Knight guy? I couldn't tell.
I'm not too sure.
But it's like, them wearing the armor that has like the beak and all
Yeah.
that. It's, if it's not Khonshu, it's like their head person or whatever. And he actually has a dream of him winning, but maybe taking it too far. He becomes very violent and very like over the top, and he kind of fears what all of this rage about what they're doing is driving him to do. So he does though have this like scheduled fight. They decided to do like a one-on-one fight for the fate of Wakanda and Africa, and it basically plays out like his dream, like it's the same place, all of that. But will he, go as far? Because even though he doesn't like it, he does feel kind of justified in why he did it in his dream. There's interesting stuff with him talking to the
Voodoo Khan.
the Voodoo
Yeah.
Khan, and about they're still really suspect and their allegiances and that kind of stuff. They seem like they want him to do that and become like this really powerful.
I haven't trusted them from the beginning.
No.
And I figured that by issue 12 we would have figured it out, but still they're still hanging around. But I still don't trust
T'Challa
them.
would have been like, "You're really eager for me to do
Yeah.
terrible things," but I don't know. But you'll have to see when he finally does get to that fight against the Moon Knight that he's fighting. It's a pretty heavy issue and about his responsibility and how far he'll go and all that, with a very cool surprise ending. Not really a surprise, like we've seen it coming, but I'm excited that we're there.
Yeah, right.
So I thought it was a solid issue. Not a whole lot happens, but it's just more fleshing out, the struggle between Black Panther and Ra and Khonshu and all of that. I thought was pretty good. So there is your A cover, which they kind of do square off like that. Less fire and lightning. And we also have this 1 in 25 Stephanie Hans variant. We're selling for $14.99.
All right, I've got the new Daredevil Unleash Hell #1. This is going to be it's a miniseries. I think it's 4 or 5 issues.
It's going to be less than 100.
Right, more than one. This is written by Erica Schultz, and the art is by Valentina Pinti and Jose Luis. And this is the Marvel's next Red Band book. It's polybag. There is no non-Red Band version. This is only polybag. And this issue starts with Elektra as Daredevil, taking down a drug kitchen in an abandoned warehouse. But there's a bunch of chemicals in there, and while she's fighting them, these chemicals cause a big fire, which results in a big explosion that creates a huge crack in the ground that seemingly breaks the barrier between the surface world and hell. Which you think, oh, that's weird. It's just an explosion, but it's explained later that Hell's Kitchen lays on a ley line.
Yeah, I want to say they've dealt with that before,
Yeah.
too.
So it kind of works within the context of the book. But because this barrier is broken, the soul of the villain Muse from back in Charles Soule's run, he's able to escape hell. And I wasn't going to say who it was at first, but it's in the solicitations. And, I think it's just getting us, I think it's wanting to put Muse back into the limelight because they're going to be in the Daredevil Born Again TV series. So this, I guess it's the soul or the spirit of Muse. It's not like the physical body of Muse comes out. It's nothing like that. But the soul of Muse finds this young art student named Morgan and kind of puts her under a trance, kind of making her his muse.
Mm.
And she's like, she's all possessed and her eyes go red, and she goes on a killing spree and starts creating the same kind of grotesque art that we saw him make back in Charles Soule's run. And most of the issue is her going on this killing spree. And that's where your red band comes in. And the sculpture she makes at the end is really creepy, really weird. So Elektra doesn't yet run into Morgan or Muse in this issue. I'm sure that'll be in the next one. Um, but yeah, I mean, this was pretty good. I think if you're a fan of Elektra as Daredevil, you're going to enjoy this. Or if you read Charles Soule's run, you may want to pick this up because Muse is back. If you like that villain. But yeah, like I said, there's no non-red
There's
band
nothing to
version.
compare it up against to
Right,
see
yeah.
how over the top it is.
Although I do still feel like I've seen just as bad from non-polybagged red band books as I have in this, but it's just what they're doing, I guess. So that's our A cover right there, and these are all polybagged as well. This is our Swaby variant, and this is the Hans variant, and then this is the 1 in 25. I'm not sure who the artist is on that one. Kind of, no, I'm not sure. I can't tell through the bag. It's 1 in 25 variant that we're selling for $24.99.
They're going all in with these red band books.
Yeah.
One right after another. Next up, I have Star Wars Battle Jakku Last Stand number 2. This is, I think we have 2 issues left in this final part. I'm really excited about all the new Star Wars books that are coming after this. We've got the Kylo Ren book about the legacy of Darth Vader and all that. Plus, we have the Old Republic book, not the High Republic, but the one about the Jedi Council from the prequel era. All of that I'm really excited about. But this one is rounding off the time frame after Return of the Jedi up into the Battle of Jakku. So in this, as you can see on the cover, Han Solo returns just in time, which is great. I love Han Solo with a beard, which matches up with his appearance in the Star Wars Battlefront campaign, which is really cool because what this is doing, even though it's to me this has felt pretty not frantic, but it's covering a year in like 12 issues. And even still, there's multiple storylines going on. So you hit them really fast.
Yeah.
But it's taking a lot of the other media, like the Aftermath trilogy of books, and all the times in like Battlefront, you had that storyline, different games, and that kind of stuff, and working them into a cohesive narrative where you kind of see where they all took place. So it's cool to have Han back, which is perfect because the Acolytes of the Beyond have been attempting to assassinate Leia, but they failed, but that doesn't mean they're going to stop. And so she's very pregnant and she's very on guard of them at this point. Plus, Adelhard, who's been our kind of big villain for the whole thing, even though he's pretty flawed as a villain, he's very tenacious. We see he's kind of doing a final big push, and he's even basically sworn off. At first it was like, I want to bring the Empire back. He's kind of even sworn off the Empire that he once served to be like his own new thing with the Empire and the Acolytes of the Beyond and the smugglers and all of those coming together. So they're going to take the fight directly to the New Republic, and I think that's where our last 2 issues are kind of going to be the big showdown between them. So very cool. We've got our A cover right here. I love this one because you kind of see bearded Han in this. It's just a suave, and this is a Terry Dodson cover.
It's like a swashbuckler.
Yep.
All right, I've got Batman Dark Patterns number 2. And in this one, Batman has another encounter with the Wound Man that we saw in the first issue.
The Wound Man.
Yeah, and it's tricky because, and we learned this in the first issue. It's tricky. Batman fighting him is tricky because of what the Wound Man has done to himself. Like even the smallest touch or grab or anything could kill him because of all the stuff that he's done to his body. So Batman, it has to think of a different way to apprehend him. But then he does so. But then he tries to save him.
Mold.
What?
Push him into a
Right.
giant jello mold.
But so the next part of the mystery, so now that he's apprehended the Wound Man, the next part of the mystery is who made him? Like, where did he come from? Why is he this way? And that kind of thing. And that leads him down another trail to this mystery. Now, this is just like last issue. This issue is a little bit less action oriented than your typical Batman book. It's more it's more of a detective story, which just like the last one, kind of reminds me of like an issue of Legends of the Dark Knight from the '90s. But if you enjoyed the first issue, you're gonna like this one too because it's still just continuing that deep mystery, which is really cool when Batman gets into a good detective story. And that's the only cover that we have.
Very cool. And the last one for me is Transformers number 16. This was a fun issue. Once again, a very over the top. They've been fighting for a long time.
Yeah.
For most of this series, it's
Yeah.
been big fights. I don't even know when the fights are broken up. It just feels like it's been the same one since
Yeah.
the very beginning. But we do have the two storylines. So on Cybertron, we have Cliff Jumper, who needs help from Alita to go into dangerous Decepticon territory, which basically says, well, on Cybertron now everything is Decepticon territory. But he hid something before he left that he's going to retrieve, which I'm very excited to see about what he does with. Um, this stuff with Cliff Jumper and Blue Streak and Alita is really
Yeah.
fun. Plus, on Earth, meanwhile, it's an all-out fight between these two, which is
Bruticus and Devastator.
Devastator,
Yeah.
which they're so giant.
Yeah.
There's a great shot of like seeing them fight in the distance, and it's like a big kaiju fight.
Yeah.
Like how big they are. So they're fighting. You've got Soundwave fighting Starscream, who is now fused to a his tank. And you have Thundercracker, who also joins in the fight. It's just like everywhere you look, somebody's fighting somebody, which is really fun. They do manage to get story in through those beats, but a lot of times you kind of have to like look to be like, wait, okay, you were fighting him, then he came in, flew off this thing, and there's another Transformer that flies in their transform form. You know which one I'm talking about? The purple one?
Yeah.
That hits them real hard, and I thought that was really
Oh,
fun.
right, yeah.
So that was really cool. And there is also a big thing that happens on the last page where I didn't know where it was going when it led up, and then at the end you see where it is, and I think that's going to be a big game changer.
Yeah, because when I saw that, I was like, it's about time.
Yeah,
it's about time.
So I'm very excited about that. Plus, another exciting part about this is this does have preview pages for Battle Beast #1.
Yeah.
The new Robert Kirkman Ryan Ottley book set in the Invincible universe. It's cool to see those printed. We saw them online, but it has them printed in order.
That means it's real.
It means it's real. It means they can't go back
Right.
now. They can't scrub the internet of all existence of it. So, very excited about that as well. But just another great issue of Transformers. I think maybe some of this storyline is closing up where we see the end. Like, somebody's about to step in and make everybody shut up.
Yeah.
So, we'll have to see what happens there. But very cool. Just big robots punching each other. So, there is your A cover. We also have this really cool Jorge Corona variant. We've got this 1 in 25 Minabu variant. We're selling for $14.99. And there is kind of a spoiler variant cover. Should I show this
No,
one?
don't show that one.
Okay. There is a Omer 1 in 50 cover that we're selling for $49.99.
It's really cool.
It's really cool, but it basically gives away
the last page.
And I want you to experience that.
Yeah.
Even all the details about what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, spoiler cover here that I'm not going to show you. It's on the website if you go to Infinity Flux.
Oh, is it?
You can check it out.
Okay, yeah.
But you can buy it, but like not look, just like
right.
But yeah, that's all for me.
Yeah, I've got one more real quick. This is Uncanny X-Men #8. And just wanted to talk about this because this is the final part of the raid on Grey Malkin storyline. And, it's been a 4-part story weaving back and forth between this and Jed McKay's X-Men. And because it's the end, I can't say too much without spoiling everything. But I will say that even though it's the end, not everything is resolved. Not everything is tied up with a nice, pretty bow. And I do think that this is kind of what happens here is going to sort of lead into that X-Manhunt crossover story that's coming in a couple months. We do learn something about Charles Xavier in this that may feed into that a little bit. So yeah, if you've been reading the first 3 parts, Don't miss this one, and more to come with. Like this part's done, and these two X-Men teams, they're done, and they're gonna not fight for a while. But there is still more to come with what they have been covering here. So there's our A cover right there. We have the Chris Russo variant. I love
I
cute.
guess it's the last part of
Yeah,
this
I guess
connecting.
so. Yeah, cute little Magneto there. And then we have our 1 in 25 Nick Bradshaw variant that we're selling for $14.99. That is a great rogue right there. And we have the 1 in 50 Miguel variant that we're selling for $49.99 with Gambit and a creepy Sentinel spying on him.
Yeah. Non Herald of Galactus Gambit.
Right, regular Gambit, yep.
Well, that was it for this week's books. There's, of course, tons more that came out. We can't go over everything, but you can see them all at infinityflux.net. So head on over there, place your orders while supplies last so you don't miss out on any of these great books, because I bet a lot of these are going to sell out, especially the variants, the incentives.
Yeah.
We only have one or two of a lot of them, so don't miss out on those as well. And thank you for joining us. It was a great show, and I can't wait for everyone to see what we've got coming up Friday.
Yes.
We've got a big kind of reveal, reskin, that kind of thing. Plus, we've got our show coming up on Wednesday where you can early start looking at what you place in your orders for. We're getting back into a regular swing of books, more consistency after the holidays, which is great.
And I think our next live show too is on Wednesday.
Yeah,
the next letters page show. So yeah.
Yeah, first one of the year. It'll be very, very fun. So join us for that as well. We've got a poll up on YouTube where you can vote on what you want the show to primarily talk about, but as along also your letters and that kind of stuff. So thank you so much for joining us, and until next time,
See ya.